time and time again, I was at the Fullerton meeting the other night. They were having about the homeless issue with connecting with the Anaheim building the shelter. So Supervisor Sean Nelson was there and all that. And we seem to have this concept, and I hear at the council meetings, because I speak at the council meetings, that we have to get the homeless out of the park. We have to get the homeless out of here. But the idea is, okay, what do you suggest? What do you suggest we do? We seem to have more passion for animals and keeping care of animals, but human beings are just kind of like.
I think that's the thought behind too.
At the same time, as human beings, as Raul, as Tim, as Julian, we have this concept that I know you have to wear that badge and you have to uphold the laws of the land, but you have to also, it has to tug at you that you're these human beings that are out on the street. We can send a satellite across the universe at 80,000 miles an hour and have it land on a comet. Okay, and this whole thing, but we can't settle this simple issue. Now, I have a proposal if you could take to the council.
Well, I got to interrupt you really quick because I got to wrap this up. Remember, the council, you got to take it to the council.
Right.
The council's the one who makes the decisions.
I know as the police, it's a kind of a proposal, or if you can, thank you, Nancy, that they could open up the beach in Lincoln. There's a vacant lot there called the Westmont Center or whatever it's sitting there, Westgate Center. It's sitting there. It's tumbleweed. It looks like a movie set from Western. Because it's just nothing. They could open that up and have it sort of a triage in a sense like we would have if we had a calamity, an earthquake or something like that. You would open it up and you could FEMA, in a sense, the homeless people, have the church groups use that property until they build on it, whenever that's going to be.
Okay, so
well, and since so many like to be
Hold
outdoors,
on, they
Yeah, I'm just saying.
so let them respond to that.
Let him respond.
So, again, a lot of that stuff is not at our level. That's at the policymakers' decisions, what they're going to do. There are problems that are associated with camps and things as such. There's security issues. There's narcotics. Who is going to patrol all that stuff? Again, this is not a police problem. This is a social problem. We're always tasked to do different things. And again, we're the face of government. Homeless shelter in Anaheim is still moving forward. There is a community meeting set for the 30th of next week at one of the churches out in the East End. I apologize, I don't have the address right now. Eastside Community. I am in support of a shelter. We need one.
But in the meantime,
hold on, Mark. We need to continue to move forward. But some do not recognize that when we see, or some people mention the homeless, they're not recognizing we've got families who live in cars.
Yeah.
We've got families that live in hotels and things as such. So we have to continue to work together. I am not in favor of some kind of camp because of the issues I mentioned, plus a lot more. We will continue to work. Our effort is to get our folks the help they need.
Tickets they don't need.
Criminal activity that is associated. Again, we have a balance. We have to respect the homeless. We've got to respect the residents. We've got to respect everyone. That's our job. That's what we do.
but you could do that at a central location.
So they need to go to court. So Chief, just a couple of things to take away from this, and then he mentioned that he's willing to come back. Sorry, folks, we're not going to have more because they got to go. But I just want to make sure to wrap it up in terms of what we understand from this morning, and we hope that you do take some of this back to city attorney, to city council, from the community to you, right? Is one, the question of the constitutional legality of seizing private property. Has that already been decided by our city attorney that our ordinance actually meets the criteria set up by the court?
And just so I'm clear on that one, the perception I understand is people think that we're taking Tim's property. Tim is standing here and I take his thing.
That's happened before.
So that is not occurring.
He's lying.
It is.
It's a liar.
How about those properties
Hold
where
on.
people
Hey.
at the library?
Hold on, folks.
While the
So-
person is within 5 or 10 feet.
So one, if you could just help us check with the city attorney, because I'm going to follow up with him as well. Is our ordinance constitutional under this decision in the LA, is it Superior Court?
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. The state Supreme Court?
U.S. Supreme
US
Court.
Supreme Court, right? So are we within that framework? Has that been already processed through our city attorney's office? Second is the question of selective enforcement. Right?
Yeah.
So even if the ordinance is constitutional and they feel it is, there's a question that's been coming to us regularly about the selective enforcement in different parks with different people. So how do we get that information to you? We know there's an online complaint system that gets processed, but when we see or hear patterns in particular areas or particular officers, how do we get that directed to you?
So Anaheim Anytime complaints, everyone has access to it. We've got an internal affairs sergeant here, so any complaint that comes to the police department is investigated. We have to investigate it by law. But there has to be a specific complaint. If an Anaheim Anytime comes across and it's just a comment, I don't like this ordinance, we're not gonna investigate that. That's the ordinance. So it's gotta be specific.
Well, how about they're
I'm sorry, sir.
overreaching?
That seems selective again, because there's a do not assist list, and I happen to be on it. You told me personally that you will not take reports from me.
That's,
even
that
when I
is
send you-
incorrect. That is not factually correct. I have never said that to you,
Yes, you have.
nor would I, no, I have not, nor would I ever say that to anyone. I'm
You
saying
had
that
your
you're
recorder
publicly,
on, you could have.
Okay, so
Thank you, sir.
Jose,
So
just
the way-
I want to
so
just
the
I
way
want
to deal with this is to test it, right? So
Jose though.
if you have, if you have,
I gotta help you understand one thing though about this. When you file a complaint, Bob Conklin was the one that responded, and he's involved in taking people's property. So they need to have an outside person checking this. How's that going to help us
so
when
let's do
he's
this.
involved in that
Let's do
stuff?
this. Can we set up a meeting with you to talk about exactly what happens to a complaint, what happened to the ones that have been filed, and were they, like you said, a general comment?
well, I think that information has already been shared. So an Anaheim Anytime complaint is gonna be assigned to the individual area that works. An internal affairs complaint, which Jose has copies, Eamon David has the forms, those are investigated by the police department, by internal affairs.
So, and those are things
And
that
they're
we
online.
follow up with, they're documented when
Correct.
someone submits them. So the distinction you're helping us understand is the difference between a general comment that you don't like something generally
Exactly.
versus this particular officer on this particular day illegally seized property outside the parameters of the ordinance and or mistreated a
Exactly.
resident, because whether they're homeless or not, they're residents.
Exactly.
Right? There is one more thing that I'd like for us to think about is, do the homeless have a right to be homeless?
Absolutely.
Is there a right to be
You
homeless?
better believe it.
Because that's the main concern a lot of folks have is that folks are basically made to be illegal because they don't have a home or a place of residence. And that was the concern of this ordinance.
We have people who choose to be homeless. We've got, someone lives by Lapel Park and chooses not to live in her house. She wants to go hang out with folks at Lapel Park. Perfectly fine. It's your right. It's the behavior, the criminal activity.
Until
that we
10
have-
p.m.
10 p.m. the park closes.
Then they gotta leave the park. So where would they go if
Where do they go?
to
There's
exercise
non,
their right?
again, we have nonprofits who are willing to assist, locations. I don't have the crystal ball
So
that,
this will be the follow-up for us, I think, is if you have the right to be homeless and until 10 p.m. at a park, then where can you exercise your right to be homeless?
Amen.
That's the question. right?
Great question.
That we have to pursue. So,
anybody want to offer any rooms at their homes?
Safe zone.
No, Chief, no, that's not fair.
That's not fair. That's right. You got him, Jose. Right
We're a
on.
community working
You
together.
have a right to be homeless. You have a right to be homeless. That's not fine. So at any rate, thank you, Chief, for coming and engaging us. Again, it was his offer to say, rather than have a small conversation, a small group of people, I should say, he wanted it to be a public conversation so that discrepancies can be discussed and or at least pursued and followed up. So thank you for that. We know you have to hit the sirens and get to court. So please drive safe. Please drive safe.
And again, we want to thank Dr. Moreno. He's sitting on my advisory board. Anytime things come up that are stirring, we want to get out here, get them in front of it, answer the questions. It's easier that way. Give you our perspective as to how we do, why we do certain things. Again, next week, the 30th, we will have a community forum on the homeless shelter. We're going to provide our security plan, what the foundation looks like. And again, I ask that when we talk about homeless, again, we're not, as the lieutenant mentioned, we're not, don't associate them with criminal activity because all homeless are not convicting or committing criminal activity.
And you make sure to tell Lucille Kring that.
There you go. Thank you.
I could